Fabius Bile and Belisarius Cawl. When do they meet? What does Bile want with Cawl? What plans does he have for the great mind of the Emperor's servant? And what research has Cawl done into Blackstone? What does he want to do with that? Friends, let's find out. Someone, perhaps the Emperor, warns Alpha Primus, servant of Cawl, that something is coming for him, his rival. Meanwhile, Bile waits by a web portal and meets Amagos from the Dark Mechanicus, or True Mechanicus as they like to be known. And from this person, Bile learns where Cawl is. Cawl receives a message from Rabuti Gilliman asking for an update on his Pylon research, wanting more Primaris, and confirms Cawl will never be Fabricator General of Mars. Cawl says that's the Inferior asking, and not him. Cawl speaks to a copy of Rabuti's mind to work out how he should respond. I'll refer to this as the Rabuti Inferior. As he is switched on, he firstly tells Cawl off for making a copy of the mind of a Primarch. Cawl explains that he made the Rabuti Inferior to see how the Primarch would react when awoken from his long sleep. Cawl did this, to avoid another Horus. In their chat, Cawl reveals the Emperor destroyed his research into the Centaurus lobe of the immortal gland, and then both of them speculate why yet another part of the Emperor's research, the Sang Primus Portum, is kept around, even though that holds the rest of the information that is needed to make the Primarchs. Cawl is surprised it was kept around. Why did the Emperor destroy some Primarch research, but not all of it? They think maybe he foresaw something, or he destroyed enough to stop someone copying his work on the Primarchs, but left behind just enough so that a self-professed genius like Cawl could bring them back. Cawl says the knowledge is now needed. And just to speculate here for a moment, could he have used some of the knowledge he already has to make his assistant Alpha Primus? Or was perhaps some of it deployed to help bring back Rabuti? It's not made clear. And then Rabuti says that his questions about the Blackstone. Cawl says he's planning to make his own pylons to seal a minor warp rift, the pit of Rakoa, as proof of concept that he can do something more. But he lacks knowledge to create machine spirits to sync up the pylons in this effort. Now friends, we slip back to ancient Terra. We see a man, Sedaine, who teaches Bile and other Marines to be the first Space Marine apothecaries. Bile believes this man's mind is one of those Cawl is made from, as he has used many minds in the past and made them part of himself. Bile says that Sedaine knew of the Sang Primus Portum, mentions Alpha Primus, and then says that he has a notion. Cawl manages to capture a Necron Cryptek and Chronomancer. Keep that in mind for later. Bile then makes moves. He meets Thrul on a Chaos world and gains this person as an ally. Alpha Primus, as Cawl's ship leaves the warp, thinks this. Cawl had made him poorly, he thought, or at least had overreached himself, because Primus's spirit was not sealed properly into his flesh. This was no idle conjecture. He could see the misalignment with his witch sight, as a smeared rainbow aura around his limbs and a ghostly doubling of his fingers if he held them up to his face. Besides the constant aches his engineered physique inflicted on him, he endured an acid spiritual discomfort each time they moved from one realm to the other. That took hours to subside. As a result, Primus hated warp travel. Then Cawl and the rest arrive at a quadruple star system, and there Cawl will meet with people from 3 Forge worlds. At this meeting place, Cawl had found an artificial world from the dark age of technology. Cawl and his entourage go down to the surface and approach a pyramid. There, troops from Mars confront him. Escatari comes forward and invites Cawl and his party inside. There are many representatives here from different Forge worlds, many sympathetic with Ultramar. Amongst them is one called Frank, who speaks. He calls Cawl a heretic, and others agree that Cawl be challenged here for his actions. It's dubbed a debate rather than a trial, and it's said that if Cawl's actions and choices have been questionable, then those who are allied to him will leave, but Cawl himself must be allowed to go free. First, Frank accuses Cawl of killing the scythes of the Emperor. Cawl says he restored them with Primaris and is currently restoring their world. And as this continues, one says, "Do you state that the quest for knowledge is fruitless?" "I state no such thing," said Cawl. "Allow me to explain. We cannot reconstruct the knowledge base of our forebearers through technoarchaeology alone, but we can reconstruct it by following the same paths of inquiry that our ancestors pursued. All I am guilty of is using the same techniques that they did in order to recover what they uncovered." He gives an example of the Primaris, who are an extrapolation of existing technology, and on using Xenos tech, he says, "I may discover the routes to success that our ancestors enjoyed through Xenos technology is inferior to what humanity once made. As we all know," Cawl finished, and Cawl, to Frank's annoyance, wins the debate. And then Cawl tells them all why he has gathered them here. He mentions Cadia and the Pylons, and the Pharos, a superluminal beacon that allows instantaneous communication and transport between worlds of the ancient Necron kingdom. There are others like it, but from the Pharos, Cawl has created a map of the ancient Necron holdings, every Tomb World and every Pylon world, and he will share this knowledge with those that aid him. He wants to save the Imperium by using the knowledge of the Pylons to close the Great Rift, the Cicatrix Maledictum. He wants the help to start making the Cawl Pylons at Caligan's Maw, and there on the planet Etanathrep was a Pylon control nexus. And as that world was on the cusp of a black hole event horizon, time slowed there, and so the Pylon control center, if they could reach it, would not have been touched by time. Elsewhere, Alpha Primus, with his psycho power sensors, senses a ship is coming for Cawl and those with him. A typed beam message is sent to Cawl, and he traces it to a place within his own ship, dubbed the Museum Omnis. It was full of Cawl's life, a memorial to him and those that he had once been. There he meets a projection of Fabius Bile. Bile says he was initially excited to see the work of Cawl on the Primaris, but it was disappointing. Variations on the same old tired theme. Bile continues and says that Cawl could have done better. Cawl said Rabuti wanted an improvement on the designs of his creator, and that's what Cawl gave him. Bile tells Cawl that he wants to save humanity. Bile just says that he is a monster. Bile retorts by mentioning the kidnapping and experimenting on people to create the Primaris. Does that not make Cawl the monster? Cawl serves an empire whose corpse emperor feasts on the souls of its own subjects. But Bile and Cawl have something in common. They both want to drive chaos out. Bile says he thought to control his creations, but when he set them free, they flourished. So the creations must be allowed to finish themselves. Bile continues to tell Cawl about his research. He says that he's cloned every Primarch, and they failed because something was missing. And so Bile believes all the Emperor's creations are irredeemably touched by the warp. So he wants to make something new, a leader, a king for his new men, but avoid the errors the Emperor made. And he needs the Sanct Primus Portum to do this. He says they can work together, he and Cawl. Cawl in reply bursts out laughing and tells Bile that he wants to improve, not supplant humanity. Bile says he hoped to talk about it, but now he will have to take it, and that the conversation he was having with Cawl was all a distraction, and suddenly the ship moved beneath Cawl's feet. Cawl looks into this and sees that his ship is being attacked in terms of the software by semi-aware machine spirits, locking him out of control of this ship. Things like creepy snatches of music and gravity wavering all over the ship. So Cawl leaves behind the projection of Bile and finds his ship is also physically being attacked by Biles. During this time, before he leaves the museum, Cawl finds the cryptech he kidnapped earlier has been released and has found him. So Cawl, in his own museum, I'd like to think it's inspired a little bit by Trazyn, but who knows. He uses a copy of his old friend's body, it being called QV002, to attack the Necron. While she shoots it, he shoots her, and Cawl's shot vaporized her upper body and neck. her head falls to the ground, but her shot also hurts Cawl, and his robotic legs are beyond his control and he collapses to the ground. Not long afterwards, Cawl's auto repairs go into overdrive. Contacting those he can on the Vox, he hears Alpha Primus has gone to defend the Primarch organ that Bile had told Cawl he was after. And Bile lied, Cawl realises. By telling Cawl what he was after, he has indicated what he's not after, and Cawl realises that Fabius Bile is after Alpha Primus, who Cawl says contains everything he has done in terms of research to create both the Primaris and more. We then cut to a scene with Alpha Primus fighting the creations of Bile on board Cawl's ship. Primus kills many of the creations of Bile. He's brought down for a moment, but uses his psychic abilities to escape and continues to hunt for Bile. When he finds him, Bile says, "Primus is a masterpiece." Alpha replies for Bile to surrender. Bile unleashes Porter, another of his creations, and Porter reads the moves of Alpha Primus as they fight. She goes to finish him off, thinking she knows how he fights, but he's been giving off false body movements and is able to knock her out of the fight, her blade flying away. Alpha asks what she was to Bile, who says she was one of the beings who will replace Homo sapiens and rule the galaxy, saving humanity in the process. Alpha says, "Wiping them out?" Fabius replies, "Evolution is a bloody game." He draws his gun, but Alpha stops him using it. Bile says he sees some of the genetics of the Gorgon in Alpha Primus, referring of course to Ferrus Manus. Then Porter surprises Alpha Primus by getting up again, and in that moment darts come from Bile. Some reach Primus, some don't. Alpha Primus in reply lifts Bile off the floor with his mind, and when Bile tries to use his gun again he destroys it. But then Alpha Primus feels dizzy. Some of Bile's attack had gotten through, and Alpha Primus falls to the ground, allowing Bile a moment to get what he wants. Not the body of Alpha Primus, but something within him. Bile says, "Let's see what we have here," as he cuts into Alpha Primus, who screams for the first time since he was taken from his Genesis capsule. Cawl arrives moments after. Bile already has Primus's gene seed and its secrets. Cawl tells him to stop. Bile says his bodyguard will kill Cawl if he interferes, and if Cawl shoots Bile and kills him, then Bile's mechanisms have enough autonomy to ensure Alpha Primus did not survive. And then he says something else to Cawl. "I would guess you have not told Gilliman exactly what you have made here." Cawl stared at him stonily. Bile nodded in understanding. "Wise. I guess you also have not told him either, have you?" Bile smiled fondly down at Primus. "I can think of no other reason why he did not use the full extent of his abilities when he came against us. I was a little concerned, you know. I thought I might have bitten off more than I could chew. But he doesn't know what he is, does he? Tell me, so I may hear it for myself, from out of the mouth of the man who is confident enough to attempt something like this, something so audacious. I sense the unprecedented blending of many lines of gene seed in this being. I see such potential, and yet I can only guess the half of what you have done. Tell me, what is he, Archmagos Cawl? Do me this favour, sate my curiosity." Cawl looked to Bile, then to Primus, then back again. What indeed was Primus? The first Primaris, which in a sense he was, though that was not strictly true. A great experiment, a deliberate provocation to the hidebound fools who ran the Martian Empire, a demonstration of his own hubris, a death sentence maybe, if his nature were revealed. He was all those things and more, but none of them mattered. Only one thing mattered. "He's my son," Cawl said flatly. All lightness fled him, all his personality overlays, all his clever neurological tricks went. The weight of the moment pushed all that aside. He was exposed, open, the core of his being laid bare for a few moments. He was no other person than Belisarius Cawl. "I see," said Bile. He looked at Porter. "I understand. I too have affection for my creations, my progeny almost. "I don't think you do understand," said Cawl. "He's not some thing whose elements were culled from whatever debased source I could get my hands on. He's far more. His genetic code is complex, but there are elements of myself in him. Porter is just as finely designed," Bile retorted. "Alpha Primus is not designed, not completely. Do you not see? I made him for myself. In his gene code I live on. I nurtured him. I love him. He's my son." "Then I am sorry that I must do this," said Bile, and pushed his hand into the body of Alpha Primus to extract Cawl's son's lower progenoid gland. He then leaves, saying he hopes by leaving Cawl, and of course Alpha Primus alive, that one day Cawl will see that he, Bile, is right and will work with him. To ensure compliance on Cawl's part, Bile does booby-trap the body of Primus, and he says this will last until he's away in the warp and then Primus will be free. So Bile escapes. Cawl is able to save Primus, quickly drawing medical people to his situation, and the many who came here to meet Cawl in his great project with the Blackstone, many of them agree to help him. And that, friends, is where we'll wrap up our coverage of Genefather by Guy Haley. I'm just going to give some thoughts on the book here and some random stuff on what I thought about the book and the lore it contained. I really enjoyed getting some more hints about Alpha Primus, especially there towards the end. Some sort of Primarch, maybe stuff culled from many of the different gene seed lines. Combined with Cawl, I thought that was a nice twist. Him actually saying he cared about this person. He adds a certain human part left to Cawl, who is hard to read so much of the time. I also enjoyed Bile's part in this, and I will be interested to see where that part goes. They're obviously setting up a prequel, some sort of rivalry. Fingers crossed Trazen gets involved as well, because I always love Cawl and Trazen mixing things up with each other, as well as Bile and Trazen, of course, who are another fun pairing. Then we come on to the Blackstone stuff. I'd like to do a little more on that, but I can see there wouldn't have been room in the book really to have gone that far into it if that was the way they'd wanted to have gone. But there's definitely some intriguing ideas there. And yes, we all know Cawl is not going to be able to close the Great Rift because that would end the 40k universe. But seeing him try, seeing what obstacles he has to overcome to get there, that, my friends, will be interesting. Now, it's been a long day reading the book and making the videos. I'm going to wrap things up and enjoy the rest of my evening. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the audio in this new microphone. I certainly hope it's better than my previous output. And I will see you in the next video, which will be at the time of recording on the Krieg on Monday. So perhaps see you there.